Premier was in Washington, D.C. to promote her carbon tax, which was curious timing when Washington is preoccupied with presidential elections, and in Kananaskis, the Premier also struck out. To the Premier, since your trip to D.C. yielded no results and showed no influence, what can you tell Albertans what you will now do differently to support jobs and the economy?
Honourable Premier.
Well, actually, Mr. Speaker, I really need to take issue again with the premise of that question. Let me begin. In Washington, it was really quite exciting to be able to meet with the President's chief advisor on the environment and to have that person come to the meeting fully briefed on our climate change plan, and then to spend time asking us how exactly we managed to do it, and to talk about the elements of it, and to find out what parts of it they could learn from. And it was very extremely rewarding to have them confirm, in fact, that the deal between the minister, or the Prime Minister, and the President was premised in part on the very plan that our government introduced for methane reduction.
I didn't hear any results there, Mr. Speaker. Albertans deserve a government that will respect their hard-earned tax dollars and show leadership by responsibly managing debt. As Albertans tighten their belt during this economic downturn, it's worrisome that our government refuses to do the same. Last week, the Finance Minister went to meet with Moody's right after Moody's downgraded Alberta's credit rating. Clearly, the minister missed the boat, was too late, wasted his trip, and had no influence. To the Finance Minister, since Moody's made up their mind before you got there, why did you go? What have you learned from this obvious mistake? And what will you now do differently? Good question.
Honourable Finance Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know, it's important when you go to meet bond rating agencies that you explain the Alberta story. You explain why we're doing what we're doing, what the stimulus will achieve, and I explained all of that, Your Worship, Mr. Speaker. I also met with many, many other peoples outside of the bond rating agencies, told them the Alberta story. They're very pleased to know that we're going to stimulate the economy, we're not firing people, and we're going to diversify. That's what they learned.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Alberta's story used to include a AAA credit rating. It now includes a triple downgrading. Quite a hat trick, Minister. The Finance Minister said their fiscal plan would address the risk. The financial agencies blame the risk on this government's refusal to rein in spending and their elimination of the debt ceiling. PC caucus and Albertans have suggested ways to reduce spending without laying off workers. To the Minister, why do you continue to threaten to fire teachers and nurses when there are so many other ways to control spending and debt?
Oh, Mr. Speaker, it's really quite clear that the opposition leader and his colleague is offside with Albertans. Albertans want a government that will invest in them, that will invest in the economy, and will invest in diversification. Folks over there aren't interested in diversification, but I'll say what's really interesting, it now seems they're offside with their supporters, because their supporters are really into diversification in terms of parties and leadership.